Valerie, remind me.
Okay. This parcel of property was originally purchased as a well site. It was pre-investigated, potentially, could be a site for at least two wells. I think three possibly. And for this current project, they're currently designing two well heads with a treatment facility on site. So part of that process of designing, obviously, the building that would house the treatment facility for these two wells, or one of the wells and the treatment facility all on one site, we looked at, possibly doing a restroom, which would be accessed from the outside within the same building, which could serve for the park users, but it could also serve for, employees that were working at the treatment facility. And then we knew that the design that was originally proposed in this concept plan is pretty extensive for a park shelter area with restrooms and all that. So when they started working on it, we kind of just pared it down significantly to, just a small little shelter area with a couple tables, because it is really a single use park. It doesn't have any other amenities besides the disc golf course. So you don't see a lot of other uses taking place there. So we knew that it would be a limited use facility if it did go into the future design. So a few weeks ago, the village board was reviewing the concept designs for the wells and the treatment facility. And there was like Michael's showing here, there's a sketch of a small shelter area, and then a area to house the wellhead.
Could you enlarge that
Sure.
drawing, please?
And then a treatment facility to the southwest that had included a restroom facilities. So during that discussion, the village board was, I think, split on if, either of these items should actually be included in the design process for the wells and the well treatment facilities. Is there anything else, Michael?
Well, the question was really whether we want to have the shelter house, right?
It was both the shelter and the restrooms were both in the discussion because the new municipal center is going to be relatively close to the treatment facility and the wells, that if, say an employee had to use a facility, they could just run back to the municipal center if they had to use a restroom. And then obviously the additional expense to maintain a restroom, on a weekly basis. So right now we clean and stock restrooms twice a week. And then if there's group reservations, we also clean and stock them then. And then obviously you'll have repairs once you have plumbing and other items involved. Doors, windows, various aspects that, overall, there's future maintenance on it. Where currently we have a portable restroom facility out there. It is provided by an outside contractor who cleans and stocks it once a week, and we pay them monthly. And so we don't have future maintenance costs, and we just have a monthly fee that we pay from May through October of each year. And then the shelter facility, like I said, that was really a question on, we don't have any shade at the site. They also questioned that, had we received any requests to provide a shelter at the site? We put shelters at all our parks. We don't get at the parks that we have them. We didn't get requests to put them there. We put them there as development of our park. So we don't necessarily build them at the request of somebody else wanting a shelter in a specific park. It's more, we want to provide facilities so people use our parks.
Any comments from Parks or Rec? Sean, just for a quick clarification here, this is just, if we approve this, this is just part incorporated into our plan. It's not necessary saying that we're doing that in the near future here. Am I-
No, this, because of the well construction is planning to take place next year, I believe. Because the design process is currently taking place, this would be moving forward with the plan to include a restroom and or a shelter area. Just because if we're doing construction there and we're incorporating like the restroom into the well treatment facility, it would make sense obviously to do it right away.
Cause I know that the concerns from some of the trustees was that there was no price or any, estimate of how big this budget would be to build this. I have nothing against this at all. I would be supportive of it, but I guess, I just wanna understand the process first. We would approve this plan and then we would then go out for bids and then get actual prices. Am I understanding this process correct here?
For the construction part of it, correct. Because right now they're just working on design and they wanna know, are we including restrooms or not including restrooms in the treatment facility? So that's a big part of it, so they can proceed with planning for that. And then because we're doing the design on the treatment facility, if we're gonna include a shelter area, because it was in the master plan, is that something that, we wanna move forward with at this time?
So there would be some additional cost just on that added design then, in those, incorporating those into the buildings, or?
Yeah, I mean, likely, if we say, don't worry about putting bathrooms in, we just won't have bathrooms included in the design of the facility, or if we say, yeah, no shelter, we won't even worry about having them design a shelter. So I guess we just need to be able to give the, AECom in this aspect, that direction of what we want included with the scope of the facilities.
And I just yes, go ahead, sorry.
How many portable potty do you have?
Currently, we have one at the disc golf course and we have one at the Ross Avenue canoe and kayak launch. Those are the only two we have. There's also one at the farmer's market, but that one's provided by the farmer's market, not by, Parks and Recreation, so.
But on this site, just one.
At this site, just only
Yeah,
one?
just one. And the cost right now is $130 a month.
So,
How much the cost of the, I'm sorry,
no, go ahead,
how much is the cost of the cleanup if you have the bathroom in there?
How much does it cost to clean it?
Right.
Like on a weekly basis?
Right.
Um,
It took hours time to clean it or what?
Probably not an hour. I mean, Yellow Banks Park on a weekly basis is probably about an hour and a half with like the whole, both sides of the river. So you're probably talking, $30, $40 a week with supplies and labor.
Mhm.
So just want to clarify as well too, these restrooms are open for the public to use then, is that correct on the?
That's what we thought would make sense. I mean, we have other well houses and stuff where there's a restroom inside the building and it's only accessible by employees, but we thought because it's within a park area, it would make sense to have it accessible from the outside. It'd be something similar to, I mean, all of our restrooms are obviously in the parks accessible from the outside, but a good example is like the Mountain Bay Trailhead back here. They have restrooms in the back of it. They're accessible from the back side. They also have their front little lobby vestibule area where they hand out information and stuff on the weekends. So that was kind of the thought process of, giving you something similar to, where it's multi-use, where they're using it for a couple different items.
Any questions from the Parks and Rec Committee?
Anyone have any question? Go ahead.
How many public restrooms are at the Yellow Banks facility?
Right now, we currently have the pit restroom on the south side. So there's a men's and women's on there, and then there is the portable restroom on the south side at the disc golf. So on the north side, we have the pit restroom, which actually village board approved to remove that facility and switch over to portable restrooms. So we're currently working on that on the north side, just due to the pit restrooms are beyond normal maintenance and repair. They were constructed in 1977, and we're having some structural failures right now in that facility. So to put up a new facility with a well and septic system instead of using a pit restroom. We priced that out at, I think, 175,000. And then if we went to like even a new pit toilet, it was around 60,000, I believe. So the village board actually recommended moving forward with just putting portable restrooms out there, because we can do it for a few $1,000s a year. And, I mean, for the next 20 years, we could put portable restrooms there and we still wouldn't be at the cost of what it was to put a new pit restroom there. So,
And correct me if I'm wrong, but if you were, I'm just thinking in my head when I've gone, and I've used the disc golf course before, but if you had to go to the bathroom, if you wanted to drive to Yellow Banks, would it take you 3 minutes?
yeah, probably not even, and you can use the walking path. But we do have a portable restroom there because of the proximity, obviously, being south of the river there.
I mean, and you're also saying the municipal employees to the new municipal center would be
Couple minutes.
2 minutes?
Yeah, if that.
Yeah. I guess one of the things I kind of look at is the redundancy of that. We're providing restrooms within what I would say is a very reasonable.
Right, and the other part of it was that even for future planning services, planning of the park, I mean, if we use portable restrooms now, eventually, we believe the village will expand sewer and water to the north side of the river. In that area, that would obviously cut down our costs of providing like a flush restroom versus like a pit restroom. Because we won't have to put in a well and septic, so that could be something in the future if the village would decide to go that direction, if sewer and water, when or if it ever expands to the north side of the river. The expense would be enormous, obviously, to do it just for a park restroom at this point, so.
But I don't believe that people they playing disc golfing in there, if they have to go to the bathroom, they're gonna go to new municipal center or cross the river, because it's just time consuming to take off from the game and go over there. Sometimes the tree is more convenient. Instead of driving all the way out of the game and go there and come back to it. It wouldn't happen, at least in my mind.
I mean, we haven't had any complaints about the use of the portable restroom on the south side. I mean, it's been there since we put the disc golf course in. So, I mean, they've always had access to it if they absolutely needed it.
Well, they're not the best. They got their pitfall also.
Oh, for sure.
Especially when you put it in the sun and it's heated there, it's just unbearable.
Yeah.
It's not convenient. I'll put it in, and it's not the best. So I would say, I think we should have a bathroom out there. And still, I was debating with regard, we haven't talked about the shelter out there. I mean, do we want that out there also or not? Although, as our park director mentioned, all the other park they have.
I would think a shelter makes sense to have some picnic tables out there. I mean, you drive by, there's quite a few people that use that. I mean, that's my opinion. And you can get out of the sun. People want to get in there and sit, hang out.
Any thoughts from Parks and Recs, committee members?
Yeah, so it's my first meeting, so I just wanted to ask, by voting for this today, we're not binding ourselves to any action other than a commitment to it being a part of the design process?
Correct, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Actually, what we're doing here, we recommending it to the trustee
Right.
board to approve this. We're not.
It's just the design process.
Correct, yeah, it's
Right,
the
and
construction.
they may not, they still may reject it.
Okay.
What What is the pleasure of the Parks and Recreation Committee?
I vote yes. I mean, if we're voting.
Oh, sorry, you're gonna make a motion to,
Oh, sure, yeah.
okay, what exactly is your motion? Let's start with that.
I'll move to approve this process to be returned to the trustees. Is that the language?
So,
Oh,
The motion is
I move to recommend the village board approve the site design to include public restrooms at the pump house and to have a park shelter included with well 7.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussions from the committee members?
Can you state who made those motions?
Mr. Corvino made the first motion, and then, Mr. Easker made the second. Yes, Director Osterbrink?
I would suggest do a roll call just for Valerie's.
Sure. So if that's the case, then we would do, the Parks and Recreation Committee would do a vote via roll call, whenever you're ready, Valerie.
All right, the park.
Parks and Recs, yes.
Okay, so Zhang,
Yes,
Zagami,
yes.
Corvino,
Yes.
and Isker.
Yes.
the motion is in the affirmative, and it has passed.
What's your wishes, Public Work?
Guess I'll move to make the identical motion to Parks and Rec Committee. Or do we have to state it out?
No, as stated in the recommendation language for official action, so as it is. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Thank you.
And can you state who made that second? I caught that Roy made the first.
Hubbard made the second.
Thank you.
And with no other business on the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting, we will adjourn the Parks and Recreation Committee for the next meeting. We'll keep all of you updated and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you.
So for those of you in the audience, we start with the joint Public Works Park meeting. So now the park meeting portion is done and the Public Works Committee meeting will continue.
Okay, item 6. Approval of 5/10/21 Public Work and Utility Committee minutes.
I made a motion to approve.
Second? Did you second that?
Yes.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Thank you. Item 7.
Just for Valerie's sake, that was a motion by Hubbard and a second by Mumper.
Correct.
Thank you.
Item 7, approval 6/9/21 Apache Lane Utility Extension and Special Assessment minute. I'll accept the motion for that.
I'll make a motion to approve.
The
I'll
minute.
second.
Did you get that, Lori?
Was that Beanie and then Mumper?
Bob?
Hubbard and Mumper.
Hubbard, okay.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, I have it. Thank you. Item 8, acknowledgement of water.
I was muted. Did you record my vote as aye?
Who's that?
Nate, is that you?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Is that your first time you vote on it? Were you part of a park committee too? No, it's not. Not on the park committee, is it?
No.
No. Okay,
We have nothing on number 8.
all right. Item 9, 2020 annual drinking water quality report. Michael?
Yeah, I suppose I can take it. It's just kind of a packet, we put together when we submit to the DNR for our Consumer confidence report. The first page is kind of our certification detailing how we're gonna be submitting, the annual report to the, customers on the water. So the next couple pages would be a postcard we put together that is mailed out to the residents. That postcard kind of gives you some of the, options you have for receiving the actual annual report we have. In there, it kind of details some of the, language we have to include with some of our sampling from previous years. So with that postcard, which residents should be receiving hopefully soon if they haven't already, but you can go onto those links. There is an English version. We do have our translated into Hmong version as well available on there. So if they have any questions, they can call our utility number and stop in and pick one up if need be. Otherwise, what Michael's getting to here is kind of our 2020 report for our annual drinking water quality.
Okay, is there anything special we should know about quality of the water in there, or we're good, or what?
I mean, we don't, there's not too much information as to any kind of upcoming projects. It's kind of just stating what our DNR, requested sampling has provided for us over the last year. And it has trends for, historical data of, previous samples for different sorts of things in there.
But nothing of note as far as any.
No violations or anything last year or the previous, so.
Do we have to approve this or acknowledge that?
Acknowledge would probably be fine.
I'll accept the motion to acknowledge annual drinking water quality report.
I'll make a motion to acknowledge the drinking water quality report.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I have it, thank you. Education presentation, none. Resolution, item 11, resolution number 2021-016 to recommend approval of the compliance maintenance annual report for Weston Sewer Utility. Josh?
Yeah, so this is our 2020 compliance maintenance annual report. It's basically a self-evaluation that we go through every year, just kind of detailing, funding, what we're using, what's upcoming. There was nothing to stand out. We did update from previous report of some of our additional projects that we have on the horizon with potential Weston Ave corridor stuff, Birch Street, Ryan Street items, the Trotzer lift station that could be coming up. So we kind of updated some of the dollars, some of the years as things have gone along. It details kind of the consumption of some of our lift stations, month to month. As part of it, we do have a CMOM, which is our capacity management operation and maintenance program. Within that, we kind of detail and lay out some of our major goals that we want to hit. Some of those are still a work in progress. And one of the pages we kind of go through kind of where we're at with trying to meet some of those goals for future. But other than that, didn't have any major breaks last year, so we scored well and nothing much to report on it.
Okay. Any question on that? I do. Is the Fuller Street on the radar sometime gonna get improved?
For Fuller?
Yes, because it takes a lot of traffic.
Yes.
Do we have a traffic count for it?
I know it's on the it's considered a collector street in the MPO region. So I couldn't tell you exactly off the top of my head what that traffic count is, but I know it is part of the classified road network in the village. It is in I think it was listed as a 2023, maybe a 2024 project in the CIP. So next month I was hoping to have a update on the capital improvement plan for future years. So But yeah, it is on the radar.
I think it should be sooner better because it take a lot of traffic. If you close that road, Ross Avenue traffic gonna be really problem.
Yep.
So I think you need at least 212 feet lane and curb and gutter, sidewalk and all kind of things in there. And I think it's gonna be, because it's being used by the people, so. All right, look forward to that. Is there any other things? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Oh, we're gonna make a motion, huh?
Oh, yeah.
I thought you did. No?
No.
Okay. Did we acknowledge this also? Item 11, we acknowledge that?
It'd be a recommendation to have the, basically, board approve the resolution.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2021-016 to approve the compliance maintenance annual report for Weston Sewer Utility and submit to Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources.
I'll second.
discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it, thank you. Nate? Is he there?
His phone is still connected, but he's not, making a noise.
Okay. Item 12. Resolution number 2021-0117, authorizing resolution for the special assessment for driveway approach, water and sanitary sewer improvement for the Apache Lane Utility Looping Project. Michael?
Is there anyone?
I guess either one. One of the things I guess we wanted to make sure that we addressed here tonight was there was questions leaving the hearing that the committee directed staff to look into. And I guess we tried to do that with the staff report that's in front of the agenda item tonight. We also received several letters from, I think, a few of the people that had commented at the hearing.
Right.
Technically, the hearing is closed at this point, I guess. We certainly can look, we have a lot of input on this. We realize this is a very concerning issue for everybody. There was also a letter that committee member Luis Lopez Sarao had sent to the committee earlier today. And a couple of his comments had also been, the questions that have been raised at the hearing, which I replied to him today and included all of you, I guess, and what would provide a little bit more background on this. But I don't know, I presume that all the committee members have read the staff report for tonight without having to go through this word by word. And I guess when it comes to these projects, I guess every project has some level of overall public benefit versus private benefit. I think what we've tried to do historically is that we have tried to be consistent with our use, or I should say our determination or apportionment of cost to the adjacent property owners on these projects, the abutting property owners, with respect to the provision of the minimum size water and sewer, the improvements in the distribution system and collection system along with the laterals. And as we look around, try and again update ourselves on what prevailing practices are in the industry, if you will, that seems to be still kind of the prevailing practice. But as we say, we have some discretion in how we look at that. Luis had asked where we had done this historically. We talked about the project that served the neighborhoods surrounding the route out to the business park. Robinwood, Eastgate were the two main names of the subdivisions, but there were other areas out there that had some subdivision. But we've had actually several significant projects in this village. I guess if you go back into the 80s, and I wasn't here then, but we had the Kelly Lands projects, which I'm sure that Chairman Zagami here is quite familiar with.
Right.
I'm not sure how many homes, I didn't total up the number of homes that's involved. We also had I think it was called the Riverside Addition. That was kind of along the path that the interceptor sewer that was going to serve the Sandy Meadows additions put in by John Tappy. That was another kind of an offshoot of an area getting served along a route that was being developed. And in all those cases, there has been the apportionment of the cost of the 8-inch water and sewer as part of those costs. In fact, in the case of the Riverside Addition, the extensions out to the east, we also had the Brames Addition, which was just to the west of Fabco, between the business park and Fabco out there. All of those involved that principle and also included street reconstruction and curb and gutter. So we backed away from the street reconstruction and curb and gutter, and trying to focus mainly on this sewer and water benefit. Now, we realize that there are, these properties are served, but again, we don't view this as being permanent. I know that residents have made their comments about the fact that these systems have lasted a long time. We did have the ages. I don't know, Michael, if you wanted to even show that as part of this, but I know that many of the systems in this particular area, with I think maybe 2 or 3 exceptions, are less than 15 or 20 years old even. What was the average age? And so we didn't really, I know we really didn't talk about that much, but there's maybe a part of us that would think that again, with the finite life, the ability to connect the public sewer and water certainly is a benefit. It's an advantage over places or properties that don't have it. As we talked about the concept of benefit in the project, yes, there's a benefit to the overall village, but again, there's also an element of that in every project we do, whether it's streets, whether it's sewer and water, creating looping or whatever it may be. So the thing we didn't mention was, the fire protection is going to be enhanced in the area with the extra fire and things too. So there again is maybe some additional benefit that could have or should have been mentioned in the report. The report has not been modified to this point or amended. I think we have some other things to look at yet before we actually arrive at what we're going to do with the assessments, although that's still subject to your recommendations tonight. So I guess those were a couple of maybe overall comments that I wanted to make. Again, we're trying to balance what how these costs should be apportioned, and as was discussed at the hearing, whatever is not paid for by those receiving the direct benefit goes back on the utility customers or village taxpayers. In this case, it's utility customers. So, I don't know, Michael, if you want to pick up on any other comments here. I guess in follow-up, we were also asked to look at the estimated cost of the current estimated cost of a replacement water and wastewater system, private wastewater system. So I think we included that in this report. That was added later in the day on Friday. Josh and Michael, I think, worked on this particular question, bring some information in there if you want to summarize that.
Yeah, so I guess we got some information about, from some of the local plumbers, excavators, about just the cost for, a mound system, which, some properties might still be able to have a conventional system on their property, but in talking with Marathon County, kind of the people that take care of their septic permitting. It sounded like pretty much north of Kiowa, would be, probably a mound system, and south of Kiowa, those properties would potentially still be, able to have a conventional system based on, soils analysis done at times somebody would ask for a permit. But those costs, just talking to local contractors right now is about 13,500 to 17,500. I think Josh, they said that just the cost of the sand that's used in the filtration has gone up about 200% over the last year. So, so that range is also based on how big of a system you'd need, what your usage is, and some of the other site issues. And then wells were about 6,000 to 8,000 for just re-drilling, and then they figured there's usually about another 3,000 to 5,000 for replacing pumps and any other casing pipe work that goes along with that. So I mean, it's a pretty big range on the low end of about 22,500 or 30,500 on the high end. If that was what somebody was facing. And again, I guess we acknowledge that wouldn't include then, I guess in comparison to the connection to a public system, a public system would be an assessment and then still some additional cost on the private side to get your laterals out to the road, which can vary also based on the types of soils, the depth, and even where your current discharge pipes are maybe located on your own property too. If you're on a corner lot, if you're, you might be able to easily get it to the side yard. Other people might have to go all the way around their house. So I guess those costs are a little harder to gauge, again, some people might have patios, fences, other objects too, so. Then I guess, the discussion Wednesday night also led through a couple other, I guess, looking at the options, and I guess we just want to go through that, some of the, we try to follow our ordinance as best as we can. It's the rules we have. So if we are gonna go against our ordinances, I guess we just need to know that and then likely update our ordinance as we would be making any changes. So.
Well, to that point, I guess the first thing was the events that would require connection. Those three events that were listed or are stated in the report are consistent with the ordinance.
Okay.
The system failure, sale of the property, or
10 years.
By the end of 10 years after notice that or in this case, we said billing of the special assessment. So that would be certainly contrary to the ordinance. What else, Michael, was in there that,
Did you look at the payment issue, how they can pay, or if there is a different method for payment?
Like as far as deferring it longer?
Longer or other method?
Yeah, so I guess that's what we're, as far as deferring it longer, I guess that's an option, but that's what we're saying, the ordinance currently states failure of system, sale of property 10 years. So if we want to look at deferring it longer, we would just need to change the ordinance so that would become, we can follow our own rules.
How long has the ordinance been in effect?
Didn't we
just updated the ordinance probably within the last 5 years. I don't know exactly what year.
That's maybe 2018 or so.
Was the approach prior to that similar to the?
Well, on these projects, we notified people to connect, and the connections were made immediately unless there was some unusual circumstance with a long service lateral or something like that was extraordinary cost. So, I guess we had held to the 1 year, be connected within 1 year generally, in the past, as I think, Trustee Zagami had mentioned at the public hearing.
So this is much more flexible than what had been in effect previously.
Right.
Yes, the law said previously, if the water goes in front of your street or your house, you have 1 year to connect to it. That wasn't enough. But they changed the law, and the law said the village has to have ordinance to tell them when they can connect, when they should connect.
Correct.
And the other thing is, I don't think we can vote against our ordinance because the ordinance is just like a law, so.
I'm in agreement with that. I don't have interest in changing the ordinance.
Then,
It's not easy process, really, and it's a lengthy process. And if we want to change the ordinance all the time, I don't think it's a good practice.
I agree.
so
Yes,
at least for me, I'm in complete agreement. We shouldn't change our ordinance, but what, as far as the cost of the assessment, is there perhaps a way that we can mitigate it to make it easier for property owners? Director Wodolski, Administrator Donner, what's the significant cost difference between what's currently proposed versus what did Mr. Barr write? The laterals, the driveway aprons, and the T.
Yes.
Michael,
Is it
summarize.
17 and a 4? Is that roughly the?
Yeah, so a sanitary lateral, say it's 1750, water lateral's 2800. So you're at, say, I think it was about 4500, but I probably added that up in here somewhere. Yeah, so if you're looking at just the assessment for water and sewer lateral, that'd be 4,565. And then a driveway approach that, can vary probably between, say, $500, $1,500, depending on how much is disturbed and how wide your driveway is. Whereas, so that would take, 17,400, which is the assessment for the mains, I guess, off, for the property.
And I understand that the legal definition of benefit is very narrowly tailored. But this, at least to me, it feels like this is something that the entire village benefits from, like roads. And since my understanding from Wednesday is that this would be sort of be going in anyway, it just feels like, since the idea would be to go in anyway, that maybe we could take those off and use some of the CARES Act funds and to mitigate some of those extra costs. And rather than have a lot of sorry, I lost my train of thought.
I think what you need to be aware of or mindful of is that there's gonna be probably some other projects probably in this neighborhood in the not too distant future. I mean, we can't predict when necessarily. We know it's gonna probably come up though. It's gonna be like every other, it's like the north part of the village where John Tappy, he found, it was discussed at the meeting, that at some point the landowner decides that they're ready to come down in price and the developer is more apt to be able to make the project work. And whether or not the village is involved or we make the developer 100% responsible for the extension, we don't know that yet. But we have to be careful we're not being inconsistent in one situation versus another. I think when we're talking about the utility or the village's money, we have to be mindful of some of this, recovering some of this private benefit. I think maybe there's ways to look at option of extending the deferral. We say 10 years as the end, but could we, I mean, if I could throw a question to the property owners, if you were subject to having to be able to defer your connection to a later time, could you make it subject then to a inspection by a certified soil tester or whoever tests these systems to make sure they're still functioning and design and working properly? Something that I think is supposed to happen periodically anyway. We allow longer deferral, of course, that would mean a change in the ordinance, but it would still allow the village at some point to be able to collect that capital cost of the mains that is typically recovered and has been typically recovered over time.
I think also we should remember, I think whatever it costs to take here not to do it, somebody gotta pay it, the rest of the village has to pay. You have to pay.
Yeah.
I have to pay.
And again, my understanding is that this is an indirect benefit to the entire village. And
not entire village, no, I wouldn't say that, because this is just this part of the area. People, they live south of 29, they're not gonna benefit from it. Or people living in Ryan Street, they're not gonna benefit from it, but, the looping gonna benefit.
Right, that's
area, the other side of the river, that's all it is too, because that's where it's going. I'm not sure the impact of the rest of it.
Didn't the people that are, in other words, when we first crossed the river, those houses had to pay for that, correct?
Right, you had a subdivision, River Pines,
Right.
for the infrastructure in there.
And,
There was an interceptor sewer that was part of the reserve capacity assessment
and
across the river and ran generally west and then north.
But one point I wanted to bring up in regards to benefits then is that the people now that are going to be assessed for this are going to benefit from the previous crossing, correct?
Right.
That's part of both sides benefit from the looping theory, correct? It's not, the point was brought up by some of the taxpayers, that other people are benefiting from this. Well, but what wasn't brought up, they're benefiting from also of having a loop, correct?
Or the capacity that was
It goes
built into
both
the
times.
wastewater collection system.
But one of the points you did bring up in your response this afternoon in the letter to Luis was, it wasn't quantified, and I don't know if you know what the answer is. What were the engineering costs associated with the loop or the additional costs that maybe aren't part of a normal, if you just did a normal expansion? And I don't know if you know what that number is. It was in response.
We can look the number up. I think it's 13% of the total that's proposed to be in the special assessment. So that would reduce that amount by, fairly substantial number, I guess.
That's what I didn't, yeah. I had some thought of agreeing with you on that, saying, well, if there's a portion of this that truly is only for the loop purposes, and the next subdivision down the line wouldn't incur those engineering costs, I think that does make some sense to me.
The thing is, part of the looping, the way they divide this number is, they assume they're gonna run 8-inch pipe to this area. Anything extra is not part of this assessment.
Right.
So I think part of some of these letter, to me, was misunderstand. They thought the looping they're gonna pay part of the looping. They're not.
But I think your point, correct me if I'm wrong, Keith, your point in response in the letter was that there was some engineering costs.
Right.
That are part of the looping that are still in this analysis, is that?
It's part of the overall project. So those are those are deemed, or as we portion the cost, we include part of those engineering costs as the, you know, in that cost to directly serve any property. I guess in this case, if we wanna say this is a, you know, it's a project that's not justified, we can remove those costs from the, from what's proposed to be in the special assessment amount. So, when you have there, Michael, for a total,
Be,
it's about $60,000,
39.
63 or something in that range.
That's 62,400, so if we divide that by the number of laterals, so that reduced the overall assessments by about $2,800 per property.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick, on Roy's point, so we're charging for the 8-inch pipe, but yet we're using a larger pipe. I just wanna make sure that's clarified. Okay, so the charge is only for the 8-inch, which would be normal, but we're gonna use a larger pipe because of the connectivity and the looping. That part will not be charged.
Right.
Correct? Okay. And then, I'm sorry I missed Wednesday, if I could dovetail one more, I missed Wednesday, I had a family issue in Green Bay. We're only charging the homes we're going by, correct?
Right.
And we're not doing the rest of so now the rest of it's gonna be unstored, unwatered, along with that small pocket by Pat Street,
Right.
right? So that's still gonna be exposed, and we're only doing, right, okay, I just wanna make sure that didn't change Wednesday night.
If they wanna extend it in the future,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna get 8-inch pipe going in front of their houses also.
Yep. Okay.
And the lateral, and just exactly the same thing gonna happen to the rest of the subdivision.
Just to clarify about what you were saying though, but are the engineering costs additional because you had to design the loop system above and beyond the 8-inch?
That's all in the total design.
That's all.
Or is that all?
It's all
part of the
lumped
total?
together with everything
Okay.
in there.
Right.
Okay.
Is there anything else you gentlemen would like to add to your report?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that at this point, we're just looking for maybe any other direction or clarity as far as how the committee would like to see us proceed, if there is any amendments you wish to have made to the report as it's written, or I guess I think it's, I mean, I guess as Keith was maybe getting at, one of the options, the thought would be, if we were to extend it, maybe there'd be a thing that said at year 10, we'd be okay with extending it, but you need to have your system inspected by, Marathon County or a third-party inspector. I mean, if that's something, you'd be okay with, we could add that, I mean, if there are any amendments that you wish to have made, we're likely, looking at an ordinance change or running something past our attorney to make sure it's still legal, but, I guess we don't necessarily want to have to rush into a decision here if there is still a thought that, we want to make a change.
So, at least for me, I understand that, I understand that, accepting, or the village accepting the totality of water and sewer, what's the word? I'm not an engineer.
Assessment.
Thank you. No, not assessment.
Engineer's report?
That it seems I'm outvoted on that particular item. I do see that Administrator Donner put, consider eliminating the engineering costs from the special assessments in recognition that, or maybe not in recognition, but what would the rest of you consider as far as eliminating the engineering costs? I mean, there's a lot that the property owners have asked that either we can't do the ordinance and we're not willing to change ordinance, but perhaps at least show that we're willing to, that the village is listening and that the village, is willing to come down on those engineering costs.
The portion for the loop or all of
Yes.
the engineering?
The portion that the property owners are assessed.
For the loop?
Yeah.
Or for all the engineering?
So right now, the assessment,
The way I think I understand it is
Yeah.
talking about all the engineering, because that's where it's gonna go.
It's not broken down into just,
so the engineering costs get broken down based on the proportion of the construction costs. So, I can get to it here. So, I guess to try to explain maybe how we go through this, so the sanitary, I'll use water main. So the ductile iron water main, at 12 inches, is given a cost, for the project of say, $71,000. If you look over at the assessed portion of that, it's $0. The reason it's $0 is because the 8-inch main, which has, 1,536 feet as part of the project as a whole, 2,466 feet of that is being assessed. So it's the 950 from the 12-inch main that's fronts on Trotzer and Apache, plus then the rest of the 8-inch main. The ductile iron restraining gasket, that's the pipe under the river, so that's, 1,726 feet. That cost is not assessed at all. That's a zero across the boards for
Okay.
crossing the river. So using that as, I guess, the one example there. When you get into the breakdown of the assessment costs, the total costs of a project, say for the water main, is $461,915. The part of that that's being assessed is $165,000. So, is that maybe a quarter? So then the engineering costs are broken out then proportionally the same way. So, the engineering design was here at 75,000. The part of that engineering design that's being assessed is 22,000. So currently we do, I guess, I'll break out the assessable costs for engineering or some of these other shared services based on how the construction costs break out. So if the, I don't know, phrase that. So there's already, I guess, that give and take. We're not assessing 100% of the engineering costs, but we are assessing a proportionate amount based on what part of the project's construction costs is assessed.
So what we're saying in this case is could consider not assessing any of the engineering that would be, I guess the comment in the email response to Luis's email earlier today.
Mr. Mulder, do you have another comment? You're good, okay.
Be quiet.
Anything else?
I guess my other comment would be whatever we do today, eventually, either the members here or whoever are the next members will be confronted with the next group of homeowners.
They're gonna do the same thing,
They're-
exactly, yes,
They're gonna
yes.
want the same thing, right? That's,
I think-
that's also my concern in balancing for the community as a whole is to remember that, yes, you want to make things as affordable as possible, but,
We have to be fair to everybody.
right,
I think that's what the ordinance is there to help us out to do that, so we are fair, everybody get the same treatment.
otherwise you're gonna set another precedent.
Right.
And it's just gonna keep going.
Yes.
Yeah. That's my concern about going too
Right.
much, too far.
And point, take it, this one just, just different enough.
I guess I mean, I'll just say openly, I would have a hard time saying you don't assess any of the costs and just the laterals. It just doesn't make sense to me, because in the future, I think everyone will want that, and it becomes unaffordable for the, I don't think we're getting a cost benefit association.
But you gotta remember, what we're doing here tonight, we just recommending to the Board of Trustees our opinion. So they have final say. Is there anything else you gentlemen would like to add? Okay,
I don't think so.
Nate, do you have anything else? Nope. Tom?
No.
What? I'll accept the motion. And the motion is there on the screen, please take a look at it.
Yeah, so the top motion would be leaving things as is, or I guess you can say you recommend making the following modifications be made prior to, I guess, moving the resolution forward.
Prior to adoption by the village board.
Or prior to adoption by the village board, yeah.
I guess I have one other question. If you had Marathon County come in and inspect, you'd have to have every homeowner let them on the property. Yeah, I mean, if some didn't adhere to that, it kind of throws that deferment out there then if you can't get into a property for some reason. If you had, I mean, it's,
That's a question we probably have to do a little more background on before we can, let's say, yea or nay. I don't know what our authority is in that regard. Sanitary districts have some authority. I don't know if that extends to a village or a utility in general, sewer utility or water utility in this case. We did offer at one time when we were looking at this 15 years ago, we offered to go and sample private wells at village cost. There weren't very many takers. Those are, I mean, if we're talking about whether we're assessing, some kind of need, that would certainly be something that'd be maybe advisable to do. But again, we need to explore our authority in that regard, I guess, to know what we could or couldn't do. So if that's something you want looked into before this is recommended further, we could do that.
Or then the Kelly land, when we did the Kelly land, it was an issue with the groundwater. And DNR wrote a letter and said everybody has to take it. And that was it. It was a must. And they weren't all contaminated, but they were getting close to it.
I guess I would make a motion then that recommend the village board approve resolution 2021-017, authorizing resolution for special assessments for drive approach, sanitary sewer main and laterals and water main and lateral construction for the Ryan Street Apache Lane utility looping project. And I would propose adding with the village board's discretion to consider removal of some or all of the engineering costs as they see appropriate.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? I have it, thank you.
Was that second made by Nate Feeney?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm sorry you're not on the agenda, I apologize.
So the next step is this will go to the village board.
Yes,
At,
it will be on the agenda at the village board. Okay, staff report, item 13, CIP project status update.
Let's try to go through some of these quick. The Weston School neighborhood, still waiting on a couple of trees to be planted and trying to get grass to grow on the boulevards there. The Crestwood Acres project is underway. The water main, sewer main on Rodney Street is complete and they're working on getting laterals to the properties put in. So storm sewer work should start a little later this week. We have a meeting with Becker Hoppy on Wednesday to go over the preliminary design for the Birch Street project. ACOM.
Michael?
Yep,
How far are we going on Birch Street?
between Shorey and Cross Point.
Shorey and that's on Birch Street?
Yep. Yeah, on Birch Street, just south of Weston Avenue, from Cross Point Boulevard south to Shorey Avenue.
I'd like to see you add that, concrete approach to the intersection to it. Repair it or whatever, be part of this project to get fixed.
What concrete? We're south of the highway.
You're south of the highway,
Yeah, this
On
Birch Street
Birch.
project is south of the highway, yep, south of the hospital.
on the other side of the highway. Okay,
Yeah, I mean, the kind,
still we gotta do that someplace,
yeah, you're talking about Schofield Avenue and Birch?
right?
Yep.
Yeah, both side of it.
And yeah, Weston Avenue, X to J. AECOM's had their survey consultant out there, gathering survey data. Weston Avenue, Alderson to Birch, we got several items in the packet for that today. Municipal Center, said, that should be, will be held on,
Weston Avenue from Birch to Alderson.
Yep.
We talk about that, contract and insurance.
yeah, so that agenda item's later on here, so
Okay.
here, just try to get through there. The Municipal Center pre-construction meeting will be held on June 22nd. So they're anticipating starting after the 4th of July on that. Then, I guess we kind of discussed some of these other items, or they're still on the agenda, so it's not a whole lot to add there on that. Unless anybody has any questions.
No? Any more question?
No.
Item 14, the street operation update?
Yeah, as you can see up there, I kind of put something together again. The May 3rd through 7th, spring yard waste pickup ran $18,532 to pick up all the yard waste and brush and stuff that people put out. It went good. We have the 2 vac trucks, so that worked really slick. Good units. As you can see, we're into our summer mode now, sweeping streets, urban mowing. Kind of keeping on. We did get some crack sealing done. We got the pedestrian trails finished, which was really good to get the crack sealing thing out again, the kettle. We rented a cold planer for the skid steer and we milled the butt joints for our asphalt overlay projects ourselves. And we would like to purchase one of these coming up because they're a very versatile piece of equipment. It's a small milling, 24-inch milling head that goes on in front of a skid steer. So you can mill your own butt joints and do asphalt repairs. We're gonna bring it back in July and go fix the snowmobile crossing out on Schofield Avenue just east of J, where there's a big divot in the road there where they burn her down. Go mill some butts in there and we're gonna wedge that in. So we're keeping going pretty much. If you just buzz through that, you'll see everything that we've done pretty much. Zadra Street storm sewer extension's finished. We're waiting for asphalt overlay on that from American. The guys started on Jessica, Jason, and Eric Street. They just started today as far as putting storm sewer in there. We've got some to do, probably adding 600-700 feet of storm sewer, doing some crossings. It's a flat area. There's really no ditches, water ponds there. So that road's gonna get asphalt overlay. So we're putting in storm sewer there. We've got some more to do on Normandy too coming up. That's kind of where we're sitting right now. Trying to get that stuff done in preparation for the asphalt overlays. Crack sealing, Thunder Road, contacted me the other day. They're coming in June 21st. The chip sealing, Scott Construction contacted me today. They're talking coming in towards the end of July with chip sealing. I haven't heard back from Farner Asphalt Sealers. They're going to be doing the Eau Claire River Bridge project. And they've got the GSB surface treatment too, so I'm waiting to hear back from them. And then Ross Avenue, it's a full depth mill and pave from Camp Phillips going east all the way to Mesker. That's gonna be coming up down the pike. I don't have a date on that either. I'm waiting to hear from American Asphalt. We've got a bunch of other stuff in the works. Some are odds and ends. We're gonna try doing some concrete repair this year ourselves. Not all of Schofield Avenue, but I know you're concerned about the joints on Birch, and those are gonna get looked at. We've got some traffic signal loop boxes that the metal tops are gone on them. They're ancient. There's one sitting by Birch Street on the west side of Birch Street, eastbound lanes on Schofield Avenue. I talked to Scott Tatro today, and what we're gonna look at doing is fixing that in-house. Hopefully keep it small and tight and get some of this odds and ends stuff done ourselves in-house. So the crew is doing really well. They're rising to the occasion. They are pretty self-motivated when it comes to getting things done, which is a plus. One thing, we did lose one of our staff, Jennifer Sahumsky resigned. She took a different position, so we're down one person on street staff right now, but we're making things happen, so. Oh, the other thing too, tomorrow, I talked to Marathon County. They're gonna come and seal the Birch Street pedestrian bridge. Some of our staff, two guys, they scrubbed the whole thing down last week with a pressure washer, went over it, cleaned it up real good, and we're gonna be having them, they can buy the TK 590 it's a siloxane sealer they use on all the DOT bridges and the county bridges. I don't believe this bridge deck's ever been sealed. And they buy it in 250 gallon or whatever they are totes. They get it a lot cheaper than we could ever buy it. And they've got a 1-ton truck with a spray bar. They've done Ryan Street, Volkman, some other bridges for the DOT. So they're gonna come tomorrow. I talked to them today. We'll close it off. There's a couple cracks right over the center pier that they're gonna epoxy for us, and then they're gonna shoot all the concrete on that bridge with that truck. Probably take them a couple hours. They shot me a price of around $800, they're estimating it. We can't do it that cheap because they're getting the material so cheap, so.
Yeah, that stuff is very expensive. That's,
Yep.
what they're spraying on it is very expensive.
Yeah, it's gone through the roof. Everything's gone up in pricing, so. But I'm glad they're working with us. They've been a pleasure to work with, so this will work out really good. That bridge needs it, and it should help it last a little longer, because as you
How
can.
long is it gonna be closed?
Pardon?
How long you gonna keep it closed?
If it's warm tomorrow, the epoxy sets in probably half an hour. They shoot the sealer on it, I would say in a couple hours. I sent out a memo saying it would be closed till 3, but if they get it done, get the sealer down by 11:30, 12 o'clock, I'm guessing by 2 we'll have it open again. It dries fairly fast in the sunlight.
I'll keep it long enough to make sure it's dry and nice and.
Yeah.
So, okay. Thanks. Anything else?
Unless you have questions for me.
I do.
Yeah.
I know it's after the fact, but there's still graffiti on the face of that bridge on one of the piers. Is that ever gonna get taken? It's been there for almost 5 years now.
On Birch Street?
Yep.
Birch Street pedestrian bridge.
That blue heart?
That's
Been there a
out in
long time.
Is it out in the DOT right away?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's kind of over the highway. We've looked at it in the past and we're ever quite sure how to get somebody over there. If you want us to take care of it, we can,
it just popped through my head that they were pressure washing the bridge.
No, we just did the deck. We
Right.
didn't do anything else.
So that graffiti's gonna stay there.
Is it over the fence, Michael? Is it in the right of way? In our right of way or the DOT?
No, it's in the DOT right away.
Westbound, on the right hand side, you see it, it's right where the fence starts, basically, someone came down and spray painted on
They
that.
did
one
it
of those-
backwards. The heart is right side up, but they must have did it backwards.
But it's on our side of the fence, not the DOT's.
It's
on the
it's on the outside, the highway side.
It's like right above the shoulder of the road.
That's the DOT's problem. Yeah, I can send them an email.
Yeah.
Okay.
You better give me a paintbrush and a rope.
And a long.
We can talk to them. They can't get at it. They bring the bridge snooper up for doing bridge inspections. They could probably reach it with that too. This is just a couple shots of Zadra Street. Storm sewer's all in. We got some grass growing there, and we're just waiting for American Asphalt to come in and do the asphalt overlay and get that project zipped up.
Okay, thank you. Utility operation?
Yeah, another busy month for the guys. We've had one of our operators kind of in and out for a while here. He's going through some medical situations, so it should be back hopefully next week. We did have, the digger sticks are coming in hot and heavy, about 1,000 last month. Work orders kind of a similar amount as previous. We're currently in the process of our unidirectional flushing of our water main. Should have a few weeks left to complete that. Nothing too much to report on any well maintenance, just some feed pump leaks that had to be repaired. Guys were out, there was one valve replacement we had to have done at the intersection of Weston Pines Lane and Camp Phillips. They repaired a leaking hydrant as well along Margaret Street. Nothing too much on the lift station side of things. We do have one, our Kathleen station, may need a little TLC here in the near future. Some electrical issues. It doesn't serve many people, so it's kind of a give and take as to how much we need to put into it, but we do need to address that soon. Nothing to report really for televising or well permits, some of the miscellaneous activities, just some of our common monthly DNR reporting, working on some of our DNR sanitary survey deficiencies, getting some of that stuff caught up. Probably need to revisit some of our due dates to make sure we hit some of those. One note here, our risk and resilience report. I'm preparing to certify that this week, hopefully. That's kind of another self-evaluation of our water side of things and what kind of risks there's out there that could be, what kind of risks would be opposed to our water utility. So I don't think we'll include it in a packet, but hopefully next month's report will maybe hand out something that we don't want to put out in public to show everybody how our deficiencies are. We began some of our lift station cleaning. The consumer confidence report was included in this month's packet, as well as our compliance maintenance annual report. And with now some of those things wrapped up, hopefully we can still get some RFPs out for our hydrant painting, manhole rehabilitations, some sewer lining. We do have summer help. Dan Yedis, who's been going around popping some manholes and getting some information for us to put together some packets. So Michael touched on some of our contract work. So hopefully things keep going smoothly on Crestwood. And after that, we have some of our customers added for last month, as well as our the water we've pumped for the month and wastewater flows and lift station hours. Teresa, our utility clerk, was out. She also had a medical situation, a little bicep surgery, so I didn't get some of our Aquahawk usage. So hopefully next month we can pick up with some new numbers.
Pumping too much iron.
Yeah.
Any question?
None.
Thank you. Policy discussion and recommendation. Item 16, intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Rothschild for preliminary reconstruction design of Weston Avenue from Alderson to Birch Street. Councilor Richards.
I'm going to give a quick overview. So this is just a, like I said, intergovernmental agreement between us as the Village of Weston and the Village of Rothschild. This portion of Weston Avenue, the north half is in Rothschild, the south half is in Weston. So it's always, these projects always seem to be a little bit of a challenge to have both communities' capital improvement plans match up. And so I guess the goal is we would split the roadway costs 50-50. And since this would be a strictly Weston utility area, you know, the utility cost would be 100% the Village of Weston's. But this was identified as a TIF 1 project. So I guess our goal would be to have this project done by 2025, so that would still be eligible for TIF funding.
I thought you had in there somewhere you're gonna go for a grant.
Yeah, so I guess since it's a joint, so we'd still be looking to go for a grant. That's kind of one of the things the Village of Rothschild said is they would like us to submit some joint grant applications, primarily the local road improvement program discretionary fund, which that grant is typically due, or it should be due this October. So I guess part of the agreement is that we would be looking to have a preliminary design cost estimate and then some grant assistance provided from MSA as part of the project. So.
Okay. Any question? Councilor Bishop.
I move to recommend the village board approve the agreement with the Village of Rothschild for preliminary design of the reconstruction of Weston Ave from Alderson to Birch.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I have it, thank you. Item 17, recommendation to award preliminary design engineering contract for Weston Avenue from Alderson to Birch Street. Michael?
All right, so, based on the last, item there, as part of that agreement, since we have, I guess, the roadway and also the utility, portion, I guess we are playing the lead role in this project, so, I guess it'd be, then the agreement with MSA would be with the Village of Weston, and then we would be charging, Rothschild for their proportionate costs. As I mentioned, the scope of services for the agreement with MSA provides the preliminary plan preparation, goes through a cross-section alternative for the street, the cost estimate, then, narrative and other information necessary for the grant application. So I guess the one caveat on here would just be to recommend it based on pending attorney review of the contract language. So I didn't get feedback from Matt at all.
Okay, I understand. But the question I have is, do we have an ordinance with regard to the insurance?
I don't believe we have a
Okay.
set amount.
Donna, can we prepare a resolution for a court meeting? Every engineering contract or anybody work in the Village of Weston is supposed to give us the insurance, certificate of their insurance, and they must have the insurance to practice their work. I'll help out with the language if you need it.
Okay.
And
And, yes,
I'll just raise one, that you might want to consider having Weston named as additional insured.
yes, always,
Yes.
always. They should put them in that box at the bottom.
Yeah.
As additional insurance
Yeah,
project.
the certificate, it doesn't.
We make it part of that resolution.
So that's, sounds like a standard clause we have in construction agreement language, but not necessarily in any kind of a language for professional service contracts.
I think they should be because
I
it could
fully
be add
agree.
up to $few dollars.
I fully agree.
Absolutely.
And for this contract, you can talk to our attorney, but in my opinion, they should be there. Are they gonna do some surveying, preliminary work out there?
Yeah, there'll be some preliminary surveying done.
There we go.
There-
What happened if the guy got hit?
Sure.
And remember, when there is a lawsuit, they don't care what we say, who said what, everybody is involved.
Yeah.
This is no joke, I've been through classes for this stuff and, the guy stopped by at the construction site, they took a picture, his picture was there, they called him and they sued him. He had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
So, all right, thanks. We can approve this subject to the attorney opinion with regard to the insurance on it. In my opinion, we have to have insurance. Then I think we should just approve it and they should provide us the insurance.
Sure.
I'll accept that motion.
I'll move to recommend the village board approve the agreement with MSA Professional Services, subject to attorney review and subject to receiving certificate of insurance naming Weston as additional insured for preliminary design services for the reconstruction of Weston Avenue from Alderson Street to Birch Street.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Thank you.
Hubbard abstained.
Okay. Item 18. Recommendation to award Tanya Tricia lift station construction contract.
Yep. I guess as part of our sanitary sewer capital improvement plan, we had the reconstruction of the Tanya Tricia lift station included. It's one of the existing vacuum prime lift stations. We'll be replacing with a submersible pump station. So we had bids received on Friday the 4th. We had 3 total bidders. The lowest bidder was from Pember Companies at $412,500. The overall budget for this project in the CIP is 500,000. Adding in the design and construction engineering fees from Becker Hoppy, and as well as the construction bid, total project cost is around 450,500, which is still under the project budget by 49,500. So my staff recommendation is to award the contract to Pember.
I'll make a motion to award the contract to Pember at the bid price of $412,500.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Thank you. What's the schedule for the project?
It would be starting, I guess, as soon as we give them the go-ahead. I understand the pumps for the station, I have about 8 to 9 week lead time. So as soon as they know to go ahead and order, they would do so. So they probably won't get started until maybe late August, early September, but they figure they should be done by the end of October.
The reason I'm asking, the last one took a long time, so I want to make sure. That's a different contractor, right?
Pember installed the one on Harlan.
Mesker
was Haas.
Yeah. Okay, as long as we keep them online.
Yeah.
Thank you. Item 19, recommendation to approve change order number 1 for the Crestwood Acre reconstruction project.
I have a conflict, so I will excuse myself during the debate of this item.
Go ahead.
Okay. So the change order number 1 is for the water service sets, which were left off the bid form. That's a cost of $1,150 per connection. There's 73 residential connections on the project, and then we're also looking to add 2 various price components for hydrant extensions. And looking at the plans, there's some ductile iron bends being proposed to be used. Constructability wise, it seemed that the hydrant extension would probably be a better long-term fit on there instead of having several bends to the hydrant. So I guess we're looking to have those as bid items added to the project as far as the hydrant extensions, and then the water service set for the corp at the water main is then the curb stop at the property line is kind of the shut-off valve for the properties. So the increase in that cost is $88,100. That's strictly a water utility cost on the project.
Do we have a drawing? Excuse me.
Yeah.
Do we have a drawing of it?
A drawing of
These parts?
of what they look like?
Right.
Like a shop drawing?
Yep.
Yeah, we have shop drawings.
You don't have it on the,
I don't have it in the packet.
on the paper. Go ahead.
I know bid items get missed, but that's a big one.
Yeah.
The normal cost of those is probably $300 to $550 for those 2 pieces. That's double to triple the cost.
Yeah, I think everything's in short supply right now. I know even just getting ductile iron pipe right now is tough. So.
Right. I'm just saying, it's expensive.
I had this discussion with Michael this morning. And when I saw that, I did give him a call and discuss that with him. It is on the plan, but it didn't get to the bid tab.
Right. And I mean, things happen, but just I'm looking at the cost.
I know.
I mean,
Change order is always
I know.
expensive.
When I read this, my thought was, are we sure that the other bidders did not consider it in their original bid?
Yeah, I mean, looking at the unit prices, nothing seemed inflated, compared to other.
But I just said, ask it, I mean, did we specifically ask them? Is it possible somebody else included it in their original number because it was in the specifications? I mean, I can just say this, when I review a bid package, I don't care what the line items are, I care what that document says.
Sure.
Because that's all that matters, is ultimately, what that says is what you have to do.
Yeah, and in the spec, it does say, curb stops would be, paid as a separate item. So,
Then also in the spec, at least I had it in there, when you look at the plan, if you see something you missed, bring it up. And the thing is, if it is on the plan, I'll look at the plan as a contractor, and I'll count all the items, because that's an itemized bid. And then you go to your bid tab, you don't see it there, and you don't discuss it.
That
Wow,
surprised me also.
yes.
Yes.
and
That's why I asked if anybody had included it by chance in your, of the original.
yeah, and as far as that, nobody brought it up during bidding or after.
That's your wishes, that's a big number. And that's the first change order, right, but the project hasn't even started.
What is the total cost of the project?
Total cost of the project,
Or that total bid package, that portion?
Millions.
so the total contract is 2.72 million, so 88,000. So,
It doesn't add up to the percentage much, really, no. But it is a number, it's a big number. Well,
and it's about 3% of the cost.
I'm sorry,
It's about 3% cost of the total cost.
well, yeah, that's big project, big number, 2 million, so on something, and 88,000. But it add up.
Yeah.
It's just that it's double what it, or even triple what it should be, is the thing, that's just the way I was looking at it.
How much is the metal price of that? Because I would just say, I know metal would be up, like I said, we were at 35-40 cents a pound in August of 20. We're now at $1.10 roughly. So you can do the math on the,
Triple.
yeah, it's, the cost of the metal, I'm sure, is
Corpses
close
are
to
only,
triple.
the corpses are just small that connect to the
Okay.
main, so it's not, we're not looking at a lot of, but,
And
and it's something that has to get done.
Yeah.
It has to get done, so.
Did the engineer come out with that number with the contractor, or
yeah, that
he
was
just submitted to us?
that was after ACOM and Switlick, I guess, went reviewed the cost of the item.
So they went to engineer and told the engineer, you missed this and we have to get paid. Okay,
Yeah.
over here it is, right? Okay. Well, I think we have to approve this to move the project, but we can have a discussion with the engineer.
Yeah, and it has to, they gotta keep going, so.
Right, because we just can't.
A man doesn't do much good if he can't serve the houses, so.
Right.
I'll make a motion to recommend to approve change order 1 for the increase of the contract price of $88,100.
Second.
Discussions? I would bring it up, Michael, to the engineer, say, this is double the price what we think it should be.
Sure.
Based on discussion we had here tonight. And we don't like surprise at all. Not at all.
I don't either.
I don't think we have advertised for it, especially for this. We can tell them that too, we don't have advertised at all, we don't wanna see this.
Yep.
Not acceptable. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it, thank you. Item 20, recommendation to approve contract amendment number 2 with Clark Dietz for construction service for Ryan Street Apache Lane Utility Looping Project.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
would you please announce that the planning commission will meet after this? It is past our normal time to meet, so just wanted anybody in the audience that's here for the planning commission to be aware.
Yes, this is a public work and it took longer than what we anticipating because there is a lot of critical issue on our agenda, and please wait until the planning commission meeting start. We should be done shortly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, so I guess.
Okay, cross with Clark Dietz.
Yep. So I guess we had retained Clark Dietz for the design of the Eau Claire River crossing for Apache Lane, Ryan Street there. Amendment number 1 on their contract was for the Trotzer Lane lift station, which was approved earlier this year. So this amendment covers the construction administration and inspection services for the oversight of the utility installation part of the project. I guess overall the costs, seem to be in line with what's expected. As I was thinking initially, it was going to be about a 12-week construction window. Clark Dietz is using 19 weeks based on their estimate. So it is a time and materials. So however long the project takes is what it would cover. So, I had $131,520 as the estimate for construction services, but carrying our contingency of $92,000, the cost of construction services is covered, kind of with what the initial estimate with a little bit left over yet. So, and again, the actual cost would be based on the time spent on the project. So if it's done quicker, it should be less.
Contractor give you schedule?
We didn't bid the project yet, so we don't have a contractor schedule.
Well, he's gonna give you a schedule part of the.
Yeah, they'll give us a schedule as part of the bidding.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there any consideration of dictating the schedule?
I mean, we put I guess a completion date, a substantial completion date on it. So usually it's known a little better, but right now without having a project bid by a contractor, sometimes start times are usually the big thing too. Like I said, came from one contractor today about just getting ductile iron pipe. There's part of me that's worried people might not even be able to get enough pipe for this project to be necessarily even done this year, so.
They can start the sewer line.
They could start the sewer work and.
Put the sewer in and then they don't do it together anyway. He does one first and then do the other one.
Yeah.
So he can wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
Usually, at least it's a standard procedure. When they bid the project, they ask the contractor, they all submit the schedule with. So you can see where they are and, how it is. And that project can be updated through the construction as they go along. It should be. There could be a delay here and some areas get down faster. There is a rain day and that sort of things. So these are kind of a delayed project.
Yeah, I guess one, go ahead.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say one unknown a little bit is how long the drilling portion of the project might take with dewatering and other wetland mitigation efforts there, so.
Yep. Okay. I'll accept the motion for that.
I move to recommend the village board approve contract number 2 for the Ryan Street utility crossing with Clark Dietz, not to exceed $197,500.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it, thank you. Item 21, surplus auction item.
Yeah, so attached is just a list of various items as we kind of, as staff in the shop finds a little extra time, we've been trying to clean out some of the outbuildings and the shop. Found quite a few tires and other miscellaneous parts that have been, more or less probably collecting dust for the past 10 plus years. So guess I can snap through these quick, but a lot of it's just rims, tires, things from pieces of equipment that we no longer own. You know, the bumpers, when we get a new plow truck, in order for the truck to be delivered to us, they have to have a front bumper on them. But then we take it off and put the.
In the interest of time,
Yep.
make a motion to
Sure.
to move to declare the above property surplus and authorize staff to sell, dispose of those items as listed.
Second.
All right, thank you.
Discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it.
And I missed who
Item
made the
22,
second.
next meeting, Monday, July 12th at 4:30, and Monday, August 9th at 4:30 PM. Item 22, topic for future meeting, anything? None, thank you. 24, remark from administrator, Mr. Donner,
Nothing?
thank you. Remark from staff? Thank you. Remark from committee members, anybody?
Thank you, everyone, for your patience.
All right, I accept the motion to adjourn the meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.